Welcome back, everybody. Johnny with TigerBomb MMA. Today I'm going to go over UFC Baku, Azerbaijan, Hill versus Rountree Jr. Give you my thoughts, predictions on the entire. How many bouts are there? Do not look at my neck. 12 bout card. And surprised by this card, really. I know Hill and Rountree, they were supposed to fight some time ago. And now we are back in the collision course. Fresh off of his title fight with Alex Pereira, we have Rountree looking interesting. Let me just use that word. And for Hill, without really, getting too much into it, it's not quite looking good for Jamal Hill. So it's a fascinating matchup in where they're at now in their careers. And I'm really excited to talk about this specific matchup because there's a lot to go into it. And before I get into this particular card, I'm going to get into real quick review of the awful, ridiculously unremarkable UFC Atlanta. I'll give you my very quick thoughts on that one. And I mean very quick because not really much to talk about. First fight, Jamie Lynn Horth defeats Vanessa Demopoulos. Nothing really too unexpected there. Horth looked too much, too big, too strong, and she could not finish Demopoulos, which really bummed me out. Phil Rowe defeats Ang Lusa. Lusa looked dominant in every way. On the feet, he was quicker, he was faster. He did get touched up a little bit, and then he kind of, unfortunately, minus 130 gave up on me. I had him on a parlay. It really sucked knowing he was like moments away from, at the very least, and I mean at the very least, had he just kept moving, gone to a draw if it would have been that bad of a 10-8 for round number 3. Phil Rowe, he does have good hands. He has good power, but the dude's never going to be a top-rated welterweight. I think he's just too beatable, and I don't think he can keep pulling that kind of stuff out of his rear end. And if you notice I said rear end, I apparently am getting shadow banned, so I'm going to try to test some waters out here. Ricky Simone defeats Cameron Smotherman via racism. Jose Ochoa easily defeats Cody Durden, which was disappointing for me because I had picked Durden. And, Jose Ochoa finishing him was always, like, on the table. But, Durden really didn't push the wrestling immediately. And, yeah, he did try eventually, but it was, like, a little too late. Like, Ochoa just kind of had, he was just kind of blocking everything very well with his elbows and just preventing him from getting to his hips. Very good for Ochoa. He looked, it's crazy how good he looked against Cody Durden, a guy that you really can't count out at any point. But these Peruvian fighters are kind of built a little different, and one that's kind of training with Charles Oliveira on more or less the daily is a good look for him. Malcolm Woolmaker, Jesus, Woolmaker keeps catching bodies, and poor Chris Montinho, he said some stuff about like his first run in the UFC and how he felt about that, and for safety reasons and YouTube appreciation, let's just say he kind of looked out at a bridge a little too fondly, if you know what I'm saying. And Wellmaker, the under was there, the knockout was there, and it was nice to take both of those. Chiesa defeats Court McGee. If I'm going to be honest with you, I took Chiesa. I felt confident he would win. I didn't feel confident he would win, so dominantly, I suppose. On the scorecards was 30-27 on, I believe, all, if not two of them. And it was not a 30-27 performance from Chiesa. It was pretty bad. Nothing really happened. And if you want my quick judging breakdown on that, the reason he won that fight pretty quote-unquote dominantly on the scorecards was the unintentional head clash caused blood. Blood equals damage. Doesn't matter how it was caused. Chiesa caused damage, although maybe the judges weren't aware of that. It was just kind of like an unfortunate thing. Nowhere near cashed. Hopefully didn't cash anybody at minus 385. That was terrible. Now, Adolfo Bellato, what's fascinating about this, I was one of the first to jump on the he's an actor, but I'm not going to say that he quit because he did get kicked in the face pretty hard. And these Brazilians like Johnny Walker and many others, when you kick them just in the right spot, their brains just go on reset mode. I don't think there is a bone in Bellato's body that knows how to act that well. But if he did, dear Lord, he's got a great career in Hollywood. I think it's just one too many strikes for me with Bellato. I am rooting for the guy. He seems like he has everything it takes to be a solid dude in the division. Not a champion, But this is the third time he's pulled a stunt. He got dropped by Ihor Pretoria, the worst guy in the roster. He pulls Jimmy Crute on top of him and gets 10-8'd in the first round. He ends up getting a draw. And then he goes to a no contest via illegal upkick by Paul Craig. Like, these are not the top rated guys in the division. He should have finished them all easily. And it's just unfortunate. And props to Paul Craig. Like, he handled that pretty G-like. I don't necessarily agree it should have been a no contest. At that point, you hit him pretty damn hard. I think the DQ is on the table more so than the no contest, but the fact that he's like, I kicked him is my fault. Pretty good on him. Menafield defeats Omar C. I actually bet Menafield live, although I picked C. The reason I picked C is I thought he was going to do what he did in round number 2 earlier. I don't know what game plan he had. The dude looked god-awful. It's more so the game plan. He didn't look bad in the sense that he didn't look physically weak. It's just he just didn't seem to have the brains, and to get out fight IQ'd by Alonzo Menafield is a bad look, and especially at those odds. He was like minus 700. But yeah, I took Menafield live. It seemed as if like Omar C didn't want to fight. It just was a strange occurrence. Abdul Malik versus Cody Brundage. It's very comical to me that Cody always finds a way to try to get a DQ. And in this case, it didn't matter to me because I picked the under. I had a beautiful parlay going. I don't remember it, but it needed the under for Mansour. Didn't cash. It went to a decision. So if you took the TKO, which it should have been, it just sucks. And I just know Cody was like, oh, you hit me illegally. And no, it wasn't going to work this time. Barcelos defeats Cody Garbrandt. Garbrandt looked good early, which I suspected he would. That's why I was a little hesitant to like maybe pick against him. But then I remembered the fight that he had with that dude. I forget, what was his name? He very bad in the division. His name was Trevin Jones. And he gassed out, and then Trevin started like slowly climbing the ladder. Yeah, it was not a good look for Cody there. So we'll see what's next for him. For Barcelos, he did not look as juicy, as strong in this matchup. The fact that he wasn't able to, ragdoll Cody Garbrandt was a little suspicious. So very intriguing, as we will eventually be talking about Lima versus Talbot. Edmund Shabazian defeats Petrosky. Petrosky, I don't know what his deal was. The fact that also went to a decision was annoying as hell. The whole main card did. Petrosky fought scared. Props to Edmund. He fought very measured, which was really the kryptonite of Petrosky. He was just too afraid to go in for the hips and try to take him down. I think he would have had more success had he pushed the pace early, but it is what it is. I'll take the loss. Namajunas defeats Maverick. Now, that was a weird scorecard. There was I think 2 30-27s. I would have given it at bare minimum 29-28 for Rose. Miranda tore her ACL, I believe. Really sucks for her, but it did show that she can kind of hang. / Rose is not ever going to touch gold at this weight class. And then Usman dominates Buckley, which it kind of sucked because I had that weird feeling, but 38-year-old man versus like a rising Buckley. It just, to me, was unfortunate that like Buckley in round number 5, when he was stuffing takedowns, where was that in the beginning? Like Buckley in round number 3 or round number 5 in this case always seems to kind of show out. I don't know what that was. Like apparently people were saying that he was kind of like geeking out about meeting Usman, and that was like everyone's sign to like jump off the Buckley train. I did take Buckley and Rose as a parlay. Obviously didn't cash. Kind of sucked. I didn't even think about betting Usman, but it is what it is. It's just an interesting night. It was a bad night overall for, like, not necessarily betting-wise for me. I didn't really lose much, but just as a fan, it was rough to see. So I am hoping that this next card is really going to produce some ridiculous action, which I am hoping it will. So I'm going to get right into that right now. Straight into it. Muhammad Usman defeats Hamdi Abdelwahab. I already spoiled it. I'm going with Usman. There's not much to really talk about this fight. I think it's going to go to a decision. Hamdi has kind of proven that he is not worthy of being minus 205, that is, against really anybody. This guy does have the wrestling background, but he is tentative. That wasn't his last fight against Jamal Pogues, and Pogues was outboxing him. I thought Pogues easily won that fight. I thought it was a robbery. But it's one of those robberies where it's like Pogues kind of deserved it because he didn't push a hard enough pace. He didn't put a stamp on it. And I'm worried about that if I am putting money on Usman plus 165 here. But I think Usman has fought the better competition. He isn't going to be the better wrestler, but I think his cardio, if he implements a cardio kind of style against Hamdi, he should be able to win this one. He's not going to have the power of Hamdi. He does carry some power, but he's not known to have the power. Just use fundamental striking, use your reach advantage. He's got a 6-inch reach advantage over Hamdi. I'm just not sold on this guy. He's 4-0. He should not be 4-0. This guy's not very good. Realistically, he should be 2-2 in a better world, I suppose. Let's get on to an actual fight here. We've got Tagir Ulanbekov versus Azamat Maksum. Maksum is plus 235. Come back on Tagir minus 195. Now, Maksum, I pre-tape kind of overhyped him in my brain because I thought, yeah, he did kind of get beat by Charles Johnson in Johnson's like do or die type of scenario. Johnson was like 4-0 or 0-4 at that time. One more loss would have cost him, and Maksum dropped him twice early, and then he kind of slowed down. Maksum is a solid fighter. He just unfortunately does not present the overall needed takedown defense and attack that is going to really deter Tagir Ulanbekov. Like, Maksum could not submit Charles Johnson. Granted, Johnson's hard to submit. Ulanbekov's just going to do what he does best. He is going to do enough striking to make it, he's going to strike with me a little bit. Then he's going to duck under, take you down, take your back, do what he wants. It's going to be a decision for Ulanbekov. Now, Ulanbekov, he is at this spot at flyweight where he's either going to have to fight for a title soon or he's going to age out. Like, he hasn't been overly impressive. He's not getting finishes. He just beat a young up-and-coming Clayton Carpenter, who at that point, he was just too experienced for him. Maksum, I would say, is a bit of a better fighter than Clayton at this point in time. Like, he's 30 years old. He's more of a complete prospect, but he does give up takedowns, and I expect Ulanbekov to just keep getting those. He's going to keep pushing the pace. Not to be a very exciting matchup, but is there a chance that Maksum can maybe do some damage? I think if he puts work into the body early, the head's going to be there later on, but unfortunately, he will be giving up takedowns, and I don't see him being able to get up continuously. I think Ulanbekov and his style, once he gets in that flow, in that comfortable spot where he can just continuously go for these takedowns on you, he's just going to work you over. I don't consider Ulanbekov to be a top guy in the division. I think that at this point, there was a time where Joshua Van was going to fight Ulanbekov, and I thought at that moment, I'm like, yeah, Joshua's not ready. I think now Joshua might have the game plan ready to go. Like, he's kind of implemented a specific plan. I don't want to give it away in case I do get matched up, but ultimately I'm going to go with Tagir by a decision by not very exciting means. Next bout, Irina Alekseeva versus Claudia Sygula. Now, this is a matchup, and oddly enough, the two women's bouts that are back-to-back all have something in common, and that is Melissa Dixon / Melissa Mullins. They all got their asses beat by her, and she's up next. But between these two, we've got Russian Ronda, Irina Alekseeva, minus 225. What sucks about Alekseeva is that she is a very pretty girl, but she gave that up to be a fucking Justin Bieber lookalike. She gave it up to be a fuckboy, I suppose. I'll use my one F-bomb. And Claudia, she's a very good-looking girl, but she looks very manufactured. She's plus 180. And enough about their looks, because this fight's not going to be pretty. I think Alekseeva, she's got aggression. She's got solid offense, solid striking, nothing too crazy to write home about. She has a judo background, good, dangerous submissions. She will go for a knee bar. And Sygula, she trains out of ATT, if I recall correctly. Like, I think she has a path to victory because for Alekseeva, to very easily put it, I think you can beat this girl if you have a game plan. And it sucks to say because in women's MMA, often you don't have a direct game plan. What I mean is that if she sticks and moves, kind of engages in a clinch with her, but not necessarily looking to get her down, just kind of bully her around, she's not going to be the stronger of the two girls, I don't believe. I don't think she's going to be the more physical of the two, I think that's going to be Alekseeva. She's bigger. She's 5'8", but she has a longer reach by 7 inches or so. I think Alekseeva is just going to just be overly offensive enough to win this by a decision. I know Sygula just recently got finished by Dixon. I call her Dixon. I don't care what her new name is. I think there's some promise in this young girl. It's just that she's 6-2. They're both not necessarily like the best records. I've seen some horrible stuff from Alekseeva, but I can attest to her toughness and her willingness to want to win. She's been in ugly fights before, and she's done the best she could in those. Sygula, she seems, unfortunately, like her style is a little bit too pretty. Like it has to be. She has to be doing damage. I think in a nasty, grimy fight where typically that's the realm of women's MMA, that's where Alekseeva can actually get on top, maybe do some damage, land the more impactful shots. I don't love the odds, but I do kind of like them in a way. Like maybe I'll take a shot on Alekseeva. I know that sounds stupid, but I'm desperate here. I need something. I need some action. But yeah, give me Alekseeva to win this one by a decision or possibly a later finish. I don't think it's going to be a pretty fight, which in that case it's going to really go in the favor of Alekseeva here. Next bout, we've got a rematch. We've got Daria Zheleznyakova versus Melissa Mullins the second. Mullins fought Zheleznyakova. When was it? That was Aries FC. So Zheleznyakova actually drops Dixon at the time. She recovers, gets on top, and finishes her with ground and pound. Now, this is in no means me saying that I think Melissa is that much of a better fighter, but she is the much better grappler. She's very heavy on top. I think her striking it's a phenomenon, because there are times where like she's composed and she's like in the right headspace and her striking looks solid. Like it looks better than most. Like establishes a nice jab, finds her distance well, and then she does enough damage on the feet to actually get takedowns. Like she looked pretty solid against Alekseeva on the feet, and then when she went for the takedown, she proved how much more dominant and heavy she was on top. And I like that about this girl. Like her path to victory is the jiu-jitsu, where Zheleznyakova has no advantages there. Her striking is going to be fast, but eventually she will hit the mat. Eventually she can probably stuff a few takedowns, but against a girl like Perez, a girl who got her first UFC submission on Zheleznyakova, it's going to be the same outcome here. But I think Melissa's going to actually finish her again with TKO or possibly submission in the first 2 rounds. Just give her under 1.5, I believe. Mullins, I expect her to fully look better. That is, if she makes weight. She's missed weight on 2 separate occasions. And yeah, I'm intrigued by this girl. I think that if you keep giving her the right opposition, I think she can be a money train. At a certain point, given a girl that can maybe stuff takedowns and is a better striker, that's when we're going to fade this girl. But at the very moment, against these like lower level girls from like Eastern Europe, no problem. Next bout, we've got Ismail Nurdiev versus Jung Park. Very simply put, I'm going Park. I don't think there's going to be many people picking Nurdiev, and it's not because I value Park so much. He's 34 years old. He's a very solid guy. He's got really good wrestling, really good trips against the cage, really good control time, high height IQ, very good boxing, establishes a very good jab, incredibly durable, and he's fighting a guy who does not belong in the UFC. I've said this in the past. I said it in his last fight. This guy does not belong. Why he's here, I don't know. The guy was given really on a silver platter, Bruno Silva, the scraps of Silva, and he refused to eat them. He decided he just wanted to like when you're playing with your little brother at any game, like fucking FIFA or, NBA 2K, and instead of just like easily like finishing the game quickly, you just like prolong it and you're just stunting on him, doing like fucking 3-pointers from the outside or half court or like super long shots from the outside. That's kind of what he did there. He was playing with his food, and he couldn't even finish him then. Plus 180 on Nurdiev. I don't see a path to victory for him, which is crazy. I think this guy is just not good, especially at middleweight. He used to be a former welterweight. I think he's going to be the weaker of the two. I think once the pressure is on him that Park is going to put on him, it's going to be overwhelming. I think he's going to try to shoot for a lazy takedown. I think at that point, Park is going to get on top. He's just going to work his magic because he systematically breaks you down, is what Park does. And that's the best thing about his style. Whether on the feet, he sets traps for you. He hits you with the jab. He peppers you. He engages in the clinch, wraps his arms around you, trips you, and he just like wears on you. And I think he's going to do that to Nurdiev, leading him to either a decision or more realistically a submission in probably round number 3. I'm going to go with. I just think Park is a good parlay piece. This could be a huge letdown spot. I just don't see Park really getting finished any way. He's fought better grapplers, and he's fought much better strikers. Nurdiev, I don't think, presents any real threat to him. Watch Nurdiev be like completely juiced with like loaded UFC gloves, and he knocks out Park. It'd be hilarious. Next bout, a very intriguing matchup that I actually spent quite a bit of time breaking down, which is Sygula versus Orolbai Elliott. The Welsh gangster, I think he's overpriced here. He's minus 395. I don't like those odds versus Ko. Ko is plus 310. I think it's a bit of an auto bet for me to bet Ko here. Now, I have a lot to say about Ko, right? There's a lot of negatives to him. I'm just going to go out and say I'm picking, for being lazy, I'm picking Elliott by a decision, and I'll explain why I'm picking the decision, but I'm probably going to pick or bet Ko. Ko has a path to victory on multiple levels here. It's just that he is not particularly better than Elliott in the, I guess, winning aspect. Elliott is a very cerebral fighter. I think I've completely misjudged him in the past. I didn't like him early on, but like this guy seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, very comical guy, can talk shit on the internet. Seems like he can take a joke. I like this guy. His fighting style, not so much, but what he does well is win. He is basically the Welsh, more entertaining Bilal Muhammad. This guy wrestles. He's got good cardio. His striking's not too bad. The issue is he doesn't do enough for, say, for example, me judging him in a fight for me to solidify that he's winning a fight. If he cannot dominate in the wrestling, it's very close on the feet. If he cannot dominate on the feet, it's probably going to be very close in the wrestling, meaning that his opponent's going to try to wrestle him, and he's going to get in a bit of a scramble. His takedown defense is great. Not a whole ton of power on his punches. Not to say that he's going to need it here. The thing is, his fight with Hafez, if I'm being honest with you, was a lot closer than what it seemed to be. It visually kind of felt like he was winning the rounds. Orolbai is, but it didn't scream it, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's a chance. I think one of the judges had 2 rounds up for Hafez, and it was split going into round number 3. So it was really up to Orolbai to get the knockout or solidify that round, or else he would have lost, or at very least won by a split decision. So with Orolbai, the guy he's an intriguing cat because I think the odds should be closer to minus 200. I think his fight IQ and his wrestling is what's going to dictate the pace. But Ko, he has very good striking, a lot of power in his hands. He has a judo background himself, I believe, judo or a sambo. All I know is that he can get takedowns and he's pretty solid, but he does give up takedowns himself. Like I had to go back and watch as much tape as I could on him where he was giving up takedowns, and yeah, his strength of schedule is not good. It's not the best. The best fighter that he fought, just to make 100% sure, I believe was that Igor kid that he just fought in the Contender Series. And even then, he kind of exploited the fact that kid never went past the first round. And, it was a good bet. He was already a pretty big underdog at that point, Igor Cavalcante. But yeah, this guy's been knocked out cold. There's a chance he can against Elliott if Elliott is the guy who wants to initiate like the let's bang kind of striking. But this kid is called the Korean Tyson for a reason. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued that if, say, Ko is dedicated on pushing the pace forward, and it becomes a very close matchup on the feet where Elliott does shoot for a takedown, but Ko stuffs it, and then kind of they disengage and they're back to striking. Say if Elliott is going to treat him similar to how he treated Hafez, where it's like, let's just strike and box and see who's superior, there's going to be moments where Ko could move forward, kind of ambush him with like not really anything impactful. Like he's just going to throw really strong, hard hooks, maybe hard kicks, inside leg kicks, whatever, just something hard that's going to like sway the judges to give him the round. So I'm curious about that. But if Elliott does get those takedowns, which more than likely he will, because he's not the best at stuffing these takedowns, especially like traditional wrestling, like single legs and double legs and shit. I think he's going to hit the mat and it's going to really eat the time. But the thing I had to really specify about this, what I wrote down was, when it comes to this matchup with Elliott, you can swing around in your favor if you get a big punch or a knockdown, which is something that Ko, I believe, can do. Either man can, but I think Ko can do it probably more, just he's more likely to take that risk. You're not able to swing around back with a minute of cage control, if you know what I'm saying. Say if like Oban gets hurt or there's a big punch and the momentum's on Ko, Oban's going to try to grapple him against the cage and get a takedown within, say, like a minute or so. That's not going to swing back the round in your favor unless you do damage. So it's one of these, like, probably stay away from it. I think all the value might be on Ko because, again, he's a mystery to me. Elliott, I kind of know what he's going to do. It's very successful. I'll pick Elliott, but I'll probably take a shot on Ko. Let me know what you think on that one. Next bout, we've got Mohamed Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. Minus 225 for Naimov. Comeback on Grad is plus 180. I still to this day don't think Grad is very good. I think he doesn't move his head. He doesn't have the best striking. He's a marauder, which can be, beneficial if you're fighting specific type of opponents. Naimov is very similar in a way to Grad, except that I think he's cleaner. He has more power, moves his head. I think he's a stronger wrestler. Shit, Grad was getting kind of dominated by his last opponent in Lucas Alexander, which pissed me off because I thought Lucas was dominating in the first round, and then he gassed out. I don't think Naimov's going to gas out here. I think he's going to be the stronger of the two. He's going to be able to take whatever potato supplements he can and give me Naimov either by a decision, like dominant decision, or a finish along the way. I would say maybe in the first round he has a very good chance to get a finish. Grad, I don't want to shit on him too much. He's got a path to victory here, and that is going buck wild and catching the chin of Naimov. It's not a great chin, but when you've seen him get dropped, it's by very good competition. Like this kid who's fighting up here, Felipe Lima or Nathaniel Wood. When you give him a step down from those types of guys, I think that's where Naimov looks his best. And when a guy like Lucas Alexander is looking good, who's no longer in the UFC, I believe, I still to this day, I don't want to get back into it, but I think Michael Aswell should have taken the spot of Grad. I think Grad definitely lost that one. But yeah, give me Naimov by a decision on this one. Next bout, something I wanted to talk about with the Sadykhov versus Motta fight, because these odds, again, are ridiculous. Minus 400 for the Black Wolf Nazim Sadykhov, a guy that is from Azerbaijan, so heavily favored by the crowd. And I call him the Gabagouli because this dude, like, the first time I ever heard him talk, this dude sounded like his name did not match. Like, I'm thinking he's going to be like, thank you very much for bringing, like, fighting the Dikunda. And this fucker's like, yeah, fucking slice of pepperoni. Like, this dude has, like, the most New York accent I've ever heard. Like, this guy just screams mob movie. Motta, plus 310. I think there's a bit of value on Motta, like a tiny bit of value. To put it to you very simply, like, I don't think Sadykhov, man, I had so much to say. I'm trying to get the thought process in the straight line. Sadykhov often looks like a guy pretending or cosplaying a fighter. And I mean that in no disrespectful way, because what I'm going to say next is, I don't know if that's a tactic of his, because oftentimes he just seems like he looks like he knows what he's doing, but he gets hit too often, and then he gets volume. It's sometimes like he doesn't know how to attack a fighter, whether it be he's just taking his time or he hasn't figured out the game plan until he's quite in the fight. There's been multiple times like that where it's like this guy looks technically like a fighter, the way he's moving and stuff, like switching stances, but he's not really doing too much. And then out of nowhere, he actually becomes that fighter and he starts whipping your ass. So it's quite the predicament I see with Nazim Sadykhov. Like, when I saw him in the Contender Series, I thought this kid was like ridiculously legit, really ready to go. The Evan Elder fight gave me the biggest scare. And then I had to be a little bit more sensible about this guy. Like, how do you beat him? He eats a lot of low kicks. And what I ultimately kind of decided about him is that this guy comes with a built-in super meter. Like, you have to beat his ass a certain amount, and then he can unleash his super, which is almost always effective. Now, if you really look at his fights, because like he's a minus 400, so I have to be very, very like real with this guy. You look at his fights, and it's kind of like the same reoccurring thing. You see his fight with Evan Elder. Like, Evan's winning that fight. He's out voluming him. Come round number 3, he knees him in the face. His face explodes. They call it a TKO, doctor stoppage. And I was happy about that. I had the chalk on him. I felt confident that he was going to win that fight. And then midway through, I was terrified out of my mind. He was ready to lose that decision. And then it's like he built enough of that meter. He finishes him. Terrence McKinney dominating him on the mat. And then again, round number 2, Terrence is a little bit different, but Nazim traps the arm behind the back, Ricky Simone style, and then he chokes him out, which was like, yo, he used up meter. Vyacheslav Slavakos is destroying his legs, beating his ass. And then round number 2 comes out, kicks him in the head, nearly finishes him, uses up his meter. He doesn't have enough built up, and then he loses round number 3, goes to a draw. Bonfim is whipping on him, like landing beautiful combinations, and then, yes, it was a beautifully timed like switch high kick, cracks him in the face, like he uses that meter again. And what I do think is that the minus 400 is ultimately justified, because I think he is going to finish Motta. I think he's going to finish him within the first 2 rounds, whether the first or the second, because Motta is unfortunately chinny. I think there's a path to victory to beat him. If you're any fighter, there's always a path to victory. But he's very dangerous. He's got very good boxing. His hands are always in the right position. The dude attacks to the body well. It doesn't really throw a whole ton of kicks, but he's a dangerous counter striker. And if he can connect on Sadykhov, Sadykhov's got a unfortunately good chin, so it's really difficult to say that that one punch is going to put him down. So I think it's going to be looking close early, but it's one of those, like, it's just round number 1, give it some time. And then maybe like at the very end of round number 1, like when Nazim is, taking enough damage to build that meter up, it's going to be very ugly for Motta. This guy, I think he has a ton of potential. I just have not seen the correct improvements I needed to see from him. His striking's always good. His countering is very great. I just haven't seen the ability to actually mix in some takedowns. That's the one thing I really want the most out of Motta, and he's just more comfortable being a striker. And that's his bread and butter. He's solid there, but there's always going to be that chance you're going to get clipped on that chin, and I think Sadykhov is going to perform here for his people in Azerbaijan. I don't love the odds, but I think that in this moment, they're giving him a guy that's going to present him enough of a fight where Sadykhov's going to eat him up. The Black Wolf's going to eat here. So give me Sadykhov. I'll say round number 2 TKO. Next bout. Now, this one I was highly intrigued by. We've got, I can't pronounce his first name, Myrtlebek Orolbai versus Tofik Musayev. Now, Musayev, if you don't know about him, he is a former Rizin guy. Fought Shabali for, I believe it was a title shot to fight Nurmagomedov in Bellator for the lightweight title. And this dude fought very good competition out in Rizin. He fought, let me remember their names, Roberto Souza. If you don't know who he is, what does he go by? Satoshi. Very good guy, very good grappler. He got submitted there 3 years ago. And Alexander Shabali kicked him to the ribs and TKO'd him. But the guy used to fight at welterweight. Now, he's fighting Orolbai. He's minus 170 versus the plus 135 for Musayev, another guy from Azerbaijan. And the crowd's going to be on his favor. He's a, not Muay Thai, Kung Fu kind of kickboxer, very powerful. He does remind me a bit of Orolbai's previous opponent in Mateusz Rebecki, except he does not have really the wrestling. He can wrestle, but it's not that kind of a level. He's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. And the very close similarities just their physicality. Musayev is just going to be down to throw heavy leather. Orolbai had a ridiculously good fight against Rebeski. There's a lot to really take away from that. Now, you could look at their, resumes and compare them, and there's something there that you could say about Musayev, that he's fought better competition. Shit, he even fought, why can't I think of that dude's name? Former Bellator champion. No, I guess I'm thinking of somebody else. Oh, he did fight Patricky Pitbull. There you go. He fought Pitbull. There's a lot. There's so much here, man, because he fought in a ring in the past. He has fought in a cage. His wrestling, there's still questions about that. I've seen him get taken down, but I cannot really fully tape his previous history where he's lost by a decision, so I don't know how great his takedown defense is. Against Shabali, there wasn't really much of grappling there. The only real time he had much grappling, it was against Roberto de Souza. Is that his name again? I keep forgetting his name. Yeah, Roberto de Souza. And he got submitted with a triangle. And that's not really going to be the case here. It's just more so his takedown defense, which is like the number one question I have out there. Had he had like a wrestling background, I would have been a bit more comfortable maybe laying a bit of a unit on this kid. He's 35 years old, though. Orolbai, again, with his previous fight. I'm just going to mainly be fixated on that fight because I think that fight showed me more than any other fight of his catalog. We can say the Medic fight, whatever. Like the Medic fight was kind of an easy fight for him. He got cracked. The Brenner fight was a bit of a back and forth, but ultimately Orolbai kind of dominated it. He gave up position, but that was against a really good jiu-jitsu guy who's a zombie to kill. The fight with Rebeski, the fight that really, to me, solidified why I'm picking him to win this one and why I'm going to take him by a decision. He really showed me a lot in that fight. Now, I was traveling during that fight. I was in the air, and shit, this fight was so explosive, the fucking plane nearly went down. And I remember, like, I hate doing that shit, but I am nudging my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, look at this happening. He's beating him up. It was fucking awesome. That was a great fight. Having to relive it again and retape it, excellent. I saw Orolbai's heart in that fight. I saw his recoverability. I saw the fact that this guy is hard to put away. I seen this guy at the very end when Rebecki was exhausted. The fact that it was even a split decision, which I don't fully disagree with, because at the very end, like, he was landing good shots on Rebecki, and after he was tired, it was a great fight. The fact that his eye was completely like busted up and nearly shut, and the fact that he kept fighting and even won the second round and more or less was in the path to winning the third until he got dropped because more than likely he couldn't see that punch coming. Very impressed by that fight more than anything. Unfortunately for Tofik, this guy got kicked in the body once and he essentially gave up. And yes, he had his ribs broken, but I think the truth behind that is that if Orolbai has anything wrong with him, he's not going to quit. He could be near death. I'm picking this damn Neanderthal by a decision. I'm feeling more confident about it. I think the fact that he went to a decision split with Rebecki and he got his ass beat, no doubt about it, is a bad look. Thus, the odds are much lower. I think it should be like minus 250. I think there's a chance Musayev could maybe drop him or knock him out if he catches him like cleanly. But I think Orolbai's striking is a little underrated. I just think that given the circumstances that he fought a guy as good as Rebecki is, was just a tough fight for him. It's not anything to be ashamed of. Give me Orolbai to win this fight. He's going to really keep it on the feet, be comfortable. I don't think Musayev is like that devastating of a striker. And then ultimately get him against the cage and try to take him down, work his takedowns. I think he's going to be the stronger of the two men, especially given the fact that, he literally frozen not too long ago, so he's more fresh than Musayev. He's the younger of the two guys. I like Orolbai in this situation. I don't think his chin is going anywhere. I just was more impressed by that fight and kind of solidified, like if you look at the very end of that fight, you see a recovered Orolbai, covered in blood, busted up, and had that been a 5-round fight, I know that's stupid to say, but had it been longer, I think he would have eventually finished Rebecki. Next bout, we've got Curtis Blaydes versus Rizvan Kuniev. Now, again, another fight with the odds are ridiculous. I've discussed this fight in the past. It got canceled. Now it's gotten rebooked. Minus 275 for Blaydes. He is the better fighter. Between the two, he is the better fighter. Plain and simple. Better strength of schedule. Just better everywhere except chin and on occasion fight IQ. I don't value Kuniev to be that high of a... I don't rate him high. I just don't. There's nothing about him that screams future champ. This guy's having struggles taking down bums like his, let's see here, Hugo Cunha. Guy's a bum, and he had trouble with that guy. Maybe not a whole ton of trouble, but enough trouble for me to be like, this guy's not good. He did beat Renan Ferreira, but he got popped for roids, I believe, something. Let me double check what he got popped for. He got popped for everything. Fucking anabolic steroids. Shit, everything. He had some stuff in him. And he's a wrestler. He has been taken down by smaller men like Darko Stoches in the past at heavyweight. I think if Blaydes uses his wrestling, that is the easiest path to victory for him to win this one. If he uses his wrestling, what makes this fight most intriguing is Blaydes is an idiot. He will not use his wrestling up until he needs to, which is when he is completely rocked. I don't think Kuniev is the best striker. I actually think Blaydes is better. It doesn't matter. If Kuniev lands something stupid, it could wobble Blaydes, and if Kuniev has enough of a takedown defense, at least for one, he could finish Blaydes. I think this is a complete pass. I think it should be, maybe it doesn't go the distance if you want to play it. That's my opinion. I don't like it. I think if you want to take a shot on Kuniev, that's always kind of been like my perspective on it. Like maybe play Kuniev for a little bit. It's 2-1 odds at the very least. I don't value him too highly as a heavyweight. I think, again, there's been a lot of occasions in the Contender Series where, screw it, you're heavy, come in, like we'll feed you to somebody or we'll feed somebody to you. I don't value this guy at all. I think he has enough cardio to go the 3 rounds. I don't think he's going to completely gas out unless Blaydes makes him. Blaydes off of his title fight against Aspinall. Like it's just a perfect storm for Blaydes to lose. But logistically, it doesn't make sense to me how Blaydes doesn't lose other than him just leaving his brain at home. So I can't fully fade Blaydes here. I think he's just that better than him. He's still young enough. It's just, again, the only person that's going to lose this fight for Blaydes is Blaydes, and I'd rather not take a shot on him. This could very well be a dominant performance by him, showing him that there are levels to the UFC and heavyweights, which typically Blaydes does, but dear Lord, he just cannot be trusted. So give me Blaydes by a decision, but no play here. Don't want anything to do with this one. Next bout, much better fight, co-main event. We've got another guy from Azerbaijan and Rafael Fiziev, minus 110 versus La Haula, Ignacio Bahamondes, minus 110. So it's a pick-em. I believe the odds are kind of going in the favor of Bahamondes for the obvious reasons. He's taller, it's 6'3". He's got a not even that big of a reach advantage over him. He's got about 3-4 inches in reach. 2 kickboxers. Bahamondes is definitely working on his wrestling defense and offense, and his submission game off of his back. Him submitting a guy that was ready to quit in Jalen Turner. And let me tell you about that fight. I picked Jalen. I thought Jalen could easily beat Bahamondes, and I think, hand to God, I think Jalen fed him that triangle choke because it was so obvious that it was coming that only a moron or Jalen Turner wanting to maybe go out with a bang, a.k.a. losing via submission and betting it on himself, was probably the most likely outcome. Not to say Bahamondes has not improved with his jiu-jitsu. Definitely was able to get it and make it look natural, but the saddest thing was that Jalen won. I don't want to say 100%, but it looked very, very suspicious to me. And Fiziev is on a 3-fight losing streak against guys currently top ranked. He lost to Justin Gaethje twice, and on 2 occasions you can say that, the second fight he didn't win that one for sure. The first one I could make an argument. The second one, though, he was, coming in on short notice for Dan Hooker. and he looked better in that fight. He didn't look like he was incredibly affected via the injury that he got from Gamrot, who Gamrot just fought the guy that dominated Bahamondes in Ludovic Klein and made it look completely easy because there are levels to this game. I appreciate Bahamondes's improvements, but he is fighting a guy equally as skilled or more so skilled in the kickboxing area, probably going to be stronger than he is at this weight class, in Fiziev. And just because he's on a 3-fight losing streak, and shit, I don't even count, like, I have to count Gamrot. That was an injury. I don't necessarily think he was getting, like, outclassed, but yeah, he did get taken down. And it's going to happen with Gamrot. The Justin Gaethje fight, the second one, that to me is like, it's a bad look in the fact that you see red on his record, but it's a good look in the right direction that this guy felt confident enough to take a fight on short notice. And although he did slow down and he did lose that fight, he got taken down, he was tired, he showed the improvements in his grappling, taking down Justin Gaethje, and his just measured striking. Now, if Fiziev, who is fully healthy and not on a short notice bout, fully trained in a training camp, I think he's going to school Bahamondes, whether it be by decision or knockout. I think Bahamondes is a very good kickboxer. I still to this day have not seen the improvements in his boxing. Up close in the pocket, he's trash. Ludovic Klein can catch him. Fiziev is very similar to Klein. I'm hoping that after Fiziev wins this fight, it's going to be Klein versus Fiziev, very similar in stature, body type, and it's going to be like the kickboxing and more so boxing style of Klein versus the Muay Thai of Fiziev. That's going to be a great fight if it does get matched up. Now, Bahamondes, again, physically the more superior fighter, taller, longer, etc. But in the speed and in the pocket, I think Fiziev is going to be able to crack him and crack him hard, attack the body, and then when he does hunch over, he takes him down, maybe pounds him down, pounds him out. He just needs to be a little bit more careful with the submission game that has improved for Bahamondes, but give me Fiziev to win this one. I think he's currently at dog odds. I'm looking forward to betting Fiziev here. Now, it's going to take a major downfall for Fiziev to lose this one. I mean, if he had just beaten Justin Gaethje, we'd be looking at Fiziev minus 200 here, showing the fact that he's made the improvements. But I like him here. I think he's just the more diverse and effective striker. Again, Bahamondes, with his long-ass arms, he leaves a lot of openings for himself. And him getting 2 finishes in a row against competition that, don't get me wrong, Torres is good. But you go and see how Torres was throwing against Bahamondes, just extending himself completely wide. That's not going to happen here against Fiziev, who is just super technical. Give me Fiziev, decision. Next bout, main event. I went back and forth on this one, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Rountree. And it's fascinating how Jamal is plus 130. Now, I am no defender of Jamal. At this point, like, Jamal has been cashing a lot of checks his ass legitimately cannot cash. He's been TKO'd by the 2 guys he was talking mad shit on in Poatan and Jiri. Khalil, if we want to use MMA math, Khalil Rountree just fought Alex Pereira. He went to the 4th round and got TKO'd. He didn't get put out. Jamal Hill couldn't last a round with him. If you want to use that logic, minus 155 on Khalil Rountree might be a steal. When we look at it, body-wise, Khalil Rountree's much more physical, much better shape. He's an animal. He's a savage. This dude has done stuff in the cage that I find hard to watch sometimes, stomping the crap out of knees, kicking the bodies while they're down. Like, dear God, like, this guy's vicious. You look at Jamal, ruptured Achilles, knee sleeves, looks out of weight. Out of shape. He's got a gut and everything. So visually, yeah, like, he's the underdog. Skill-wise, competition-wise, I think this is Jamal Hill's fight. And when going back and watching the old Jamal Hill, like, when you see him prior to the ruptured Achilles, this dude was, like, confident. And that was his main thing, is the confidence. And he has kind of lost that a little bit. And I was worried about it in this fight. Like, I've picked Jamal Hill 3 times in a row and it's kind of backfired on me. I bet him 3 times in a row, and it's backfired on me. But, the Pereira fight, whatever it is, what it is, Pereira was undeniable at that time. Jiri, I think he was looking good against Jiri, but there were moments there where he really wanted to prove a point, saying that, like, hey, I'm still here. Like, I don't think he was in the right mindset to fight Jiri. But when he kind of calmed things down and he was attacking the body, he was looking good, but he kept getting dropped. I think it was just his ego that lost him that fight more than anything. But the work he was putting in that second round was very good, attacking the body beautifully. When he leads the body and his jab, that's when he's the most dangerous, but he has to be calm. He has to lead the dance. I think he has to kind of know his limitations now that his body's getting older and maybe he's not as fast as he used to be, whether it be fucking 3% or 20% slower than he used to be before he had the injury. He has to kind of acclimate himself to that. But even then, I still think he's very likely to win this matchup. Now, for Khalil, the physicality's there. You can say that the cardio might be there. I think he does pace himself well. Oftentimes, though, he does kind of lunge in and he uses a lot of energy. You can say that he gassed out against Politan. That was in Salt Lake City. I'm not going to really hold that against him. The issues with him is that he does eat a lot of jabs. Jamal Hill's a much better boxer in that case. And I think this is a spot where Jamal can really get back on track. Yeah, he did lose to 2 champions back-to-back. Khalil, although he looked good against Alex, that seemed to be an Alex that maybe wasn't too interested in getting a quick finish, He was just like, I'll take my time with him. I could be way off here, but just given the tape, I am still leaning Jamal Hill. I think with his well-rounded nature, the only thing that concerns me in this matchup is that if Jamal Hill is just completely like the weaker guy here, I don't foresee that happening. And if, say, Jamal Hill gets hit and he tries to get it back like immediately, that could lead him to getting knocked out. Now, Jamal, what he has to do here is control the pace of the fight. It's a 5-round fight. And in that fight, in his fight, slow things down. You don't have to knock him out early. You don't have to go out there and like Johnny Walker this guy. You take your time. You set your things up. Attack the body. Establish your jab. You're going to have the longer reach. And that's the main thing. Jamal Hill with a solid game plan, a guy who slows the fight down, I think wins this fight fucking 10 out of 10 times. Let's just say 9 out of 10 times. The one time he would lose is that like Khalil just destroys his leg. Both these guys are southpaws. The biggest concern I would have is for the leg kicks and Jamal getting his legs hooked up. But if Jamal comes in here healthy, I want to see him look good on the scale. I want to see him come out with no knee pads. I think he wins this fight. I think it's going to be not the most exciting fight. I think it's going to be exciting enough compared to like last week, but I think he can actually finish Khalil Rountree in like the 4th or 5th round. I think it's going to go later. I think it's mostly going to be Hill dictating the pace, maybe staying on the outside, avoiding like the big shots of Khalil, making Khalil come to him where he can use his counters. Now, against Jiri, which is, again, the most recent fight, the head movement of Jiri was the most like mind-fucky thing for Jamal. He wasn't expecting that. I think now, considering the fact that he's got a much easier target, much easier opponent, a smaller guy, a guy that he can jab, a guy who can like hit him to the body and just kind of use a little bit of your head quickness, because I don't think he's going to be the faster between the two, especially early. I think more so the better head movement's going to be from Hill, but he just has to be attentive. He cannot come out here super cocky, treating him like he's a scrub. You got to kind of treat him like a dangerous 7-year-old. You're going to beat his ass, but he might be able to hurt you. So I'll go Jamal Hill, 4th round TKO. Now, I want you to let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think this card is going to deliver. It's going to be a lot earlier than normal, and I'm ready for war with these two guys. I want to see if Jamal Hill still got it. I want to see if it breaks the streak, because I've been picking Jamal Hill because I do value what he brings to the table, despite the fact, again, that he's talking mad shit. I think Khalil Rountree, with his last fight, this guy was somebody who nobody really kind of viewed him as like a top guy. Like, he has not really fought anyone other than Alex, who was kind of a gift to him. Like, he was number 8 at the time, and then you want to fight the champ because you popped for steroids and you were honest about it? Like, great. But there's been multiple occasions that this guy's fought higher level competition and he's got brutally finished. And then Jamal fights the 2 back-to-back champions that were prior to him, or after him, I suppose. And he gets finished by both of them. And are we supposed to throw his ass to the trash? Injuries might be what's going to be the downfall for Jamal Hill. So we'll see what happens in this matchup. Johnny TigerBomb MMA. I'll see you next week.